Get ready and tune into the Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered, a unique platform to help you optimize your health through dynamic role playing, real life challenges with expert guests and your host, Dr. Bart Rademaker. My name is Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered. And once again, bringing to you some incredible individuals that make a major mark on our world today and the things that they do for other people. And this is what's so remarkable about all the guests that I have here today, and especially today, because these are the people that you want to connect with to help guide you in your life's journey when it comes to health, when it comes to peak performance, or whatever that is. And so today's show is really about sharing with you the process by which you can make better decisions on any of these levels. Because the one thing that I've noticed, because actually I don't know you personally, but I do know the kinds of problems and the processes that will help you have an optimum health. And the challenge that we have today with all these podcasts out there is they're sharing all this information about different products, different services, and they may or may not actually work for you. And so it's really up to you to make the right decisions, but nobody's even talking about that. So with that content, that's also context dependent. And if that content, if you're not in the right context, guess what? It's not going to work for you. And you might be spending a lot of money on something that's just not going to do anything for you, especially when it comes to very sophisticated medical technology out there. And so that's what we do here on this podcast is we're curating and educating and guiding you so that you can make the best decisions for yourself. So how do we actually do that? Well, it's through role play. And so one of my guests will present with a particular problem, and then the other will guide them in about 6 to 8 minutes to some form of resolution. And you might actually think, well, how's that even possible? How can you resolve something in 6 minutes? Well, interestingly enough, most of the time we get some remarkable resolution and actually great breakthroughs on many of the guests that we have here today. But the point of the matter is that you get to witness yourself in the process that's happening right in front of you as well. Because it's about recognizing yourself in these kinds of problems and appreciating the process by which you can have a resolution to obtain a better level of health, rather than just trying to sell your product. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick introduction of each of my guests. We'll do the 6 to 8 minute role play, and we're going to wrap it up with about 10 or 15 minutes unpacking what you heard today so that you will leave with some distinction or insight and a very specific action step that you can take towards optimizing your health. So for today, my brother there, Mark van Muser, an amazing human being, making an amazing mark on the world in all the things that he does. And it's such an honor for me to have him on my podcast. And of course, Dr. Val, the intelligence behind her being a naturopath is worldly, and really appreciate you both. So Mark, just a brief introduction of yourself, then we'll go with Dr. Val, and then we'll jump into the role play.
Thanks for having me. Real quick, I'm the founder and CEO of Soar and Roar Incorporated, which is a human optimization program helping people identify and really awaken to their greatness until they own it. So that's a big part, helping them kind of take it to their dream life. Secondly, previously, I was the director of coaching and sales training for Tony Robbins, helped Tony scale, put several hundred millions of dollars into him and really increase his impact. Most recently, for the last decade, I've been helping entrepreneurs build their financial health and help them with what a system I called heart-driven selling, which is to stop selling and show people how to enroll in their dream. That creates a win-win with insane, amazing enrollment rates. And so we helped our clients last 2 years did over $1 billion in sales and clients without selling by really serving the client. So that's really just the 30-second background bio.
Excellent. Dr. Val.
Thank you so much for inviting me on and having me here. I'm a naturopathic doctor with an undergraduate degree in nutrition. I've been in practice for 24 years, and I specialize in human performance and human optimization. I have spent the last 24 years as well studying different forms of medicine all over the world. I've studied medicine in China, and I just help people reach their full human potential and really live with energy, passion, purpose, and help them get their sexy back.
I love that. And what I want the listener to also appreciate that, it's never one size fits all, and it's never just one thing either. And that's the beauty of this podcast, is having these different people with these different perspectives bring to you the possibility of what's available for you as you stack up different ways of approaching your own health, whether it's just optimization through your mindset, whether it's optimization through your lifestyle and nutrition. I mean, all this makes a difference. And it's a matter of just understanding how to make those decisions that are best for you as you bring all this in a unified fashion. So for today, I know Mark has a problem. And just for the listener out there, is that you might get triggered, you might be critical. These are inside voices telling you to pay attention, because this might be something that's relevant for you, and not necessarily taking it personally, but just lean into it and hear what's possible for you if you get triggered in any of this. Mark.
So really what I wanted to ask for some help, Dr. Val, was that, as you know, I've been set my targets on really taking my body into the next level. But when I got back from my doctor, my blood work was red flag level. My cholesterol was, I think, close to 300. My blood pressure was high. I have high blood pressure as well. My red blood cells were off the charts. There was a lot of inflammation, and it's really frustrating because my diet is dialed in. I have whey protein, I eat chicken, I have white rice, I have basically exactly what the diet. I don't eat sweets, I don't have crap in my diet. And so how is it possible that I'm sitting here and I look good on the outside? That's the problem. But there's major, major red flags popping up where my doctor wants to put me on statins. My doctor wanted to put me on all sorts of medicines, external medicines, but I'm more concerned about the bottom line. Something's not working, and again, it's frustrating. I've been doing everything, and I've been watching my nutrition and my health for, God, I'd have to count now, but now coming up on 40 years. So this has been an ongoing process. And on the outside, like I said, I look good, but on the inside, and I'm constantly getting hurt, constantly pulling something, tendons as well. It's just frustrating. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And it's like I'm looking to get traction. So that's really what I needed help. I don't want to knock Western medicine, but I'm not a fan of just go taking pills. I want to get to the core issue, and I want to get fixed. So that's really where I'm at, and I'm frustrated, and it's driving me crazy.
Wonderful. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So thank you so much for coming in. And one of the things that I heard you say is, I'm eating healthy.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that phrase. And I'm going to say, are you really? Because, I've been in practice now for 24 years, and I've had so many of my patients come in saying, I'm eating really healthy. And my answer is, I can probably find something where you're not. And the reason that I say that is because 90% of the nutrition information that's out there is actually dead wrong.
Right.
So part of the problem is that, it sounds like you've been doing a lot of work, and what you're describing with the protein powders and the chicken, that's how a lot of bodybuilders or people who are doing a lot of gym work and fitness, how they will basically eat.
Right.
That doesn't mean that that's what your body wants. Everybody's body is a unique biochemistry. And how your immune system interacts with foods, what foods cause inflammation, how you're absorbing vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, what your hormonal balance is happening in your body, all of those make a big difference. And there's no one right way of eating for everybody. So let's actually unpack that a little bit, because for most people, they think, okay, well, my cholesterol's high, so I have to stop eating eggs, right? Or I have to stop eating red meat, or I don't eat eggs and red meat. So what gives? We used to think that cholesterol had to do with the food that you were eating. And it still kind of does, but we now know that it's not because of the cholesterol that you eat in food. When you eat cholesterol in a food, that only affects your bloodstream, the cholesterol that's in your bloodstream, by about 10%. So we don't even measure fasting cholesterol levels anymore because we know the food doesn't affect it that way. But how your liver's working, how your thyroid's working, and how much coffee, alcohol, and sugar you're having, how much carbohydrates you're having, that will affect your cholesterol levels. So how much coffee are you having?
If I do have coffee, it depends. If I'm training, I'm having zero coffee. I don't do sugar. I don't have coffee. I don't do the other one. I don't do eggs even. Again, I don't think anybody should really eat eggs. I'm much more of a ribeye guy. So I'm just joking. I'm not a big egg fan. But it depends. If I'm not training, then sugar and carbs would be an issue. But when I'm training, it's pretty basic. My morning shake is going to be whey protein. I'll probably add collagen, possibly. That's pretty much what I do for breakfast. That's pretty much what I do for lunch. Then I'll do, chicken breast, rice. I'll probably do that. And then at dinner, and it's pretty much another shake, then another one. So I'm not really doing a lot of the other things. I just do weight, and I do casein protein as well. So I do weight, casein and protein. So hold on.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we should look at too, because what could happen is there are certain foods that you could be eating that are generally healthy, but that your immune system is not happy with. So with respect to testing food sensitivities, we should take a look at those because we can actually measure if your body is having an immune response against the foods that you're eating, because that could be triggering a lot of the inflammation. I'd look at thyroid function for you too,
Yep,
because
that was really low too. My thyroid was not working. They basically said I don't know if it was 2.4 or whatever. Is it the very bottom where it said it wasn't working? That was another one of those markers that was way up, was not working.
Absolutely. And then I'd want to take a look at your hormonal levels too, because if you're low in testosterone, that could be contributing to some of these issues. And testosterone levels can start going low in men, just how like women hit menopause around that, their 50s. Men hit andropause, their levels decline. And that could be affecting cholesterol levels. It could be affecting blood pressure too. Do you know what those were like?
Well, I think you're right, though, when women pause on men, I don't think that ever works out well. I don't think
Never.
that's good for the men. I don't think it's good for the women. So again, on that, I'm not quite sure. I know that I don't know the number other than it was like, oh my God, here's another one of those red flag numbers. But my testosterone was low too. So my testosterone was lower than it should be. I don't even remember what it was. It wasn't, I think I was in the 400s, maybe the 300s, and it used to be upwards over 1,000. I was usually tracking about 900 to 1,000 because of my weightlifting, because of the diet that I ate, and those markers were high. Those have dropped significantly. So my testosterone's dropped a bit.
So what I would love to do is look at the underlying root causes of those. Because again, if we don't get rid of the underlying root cause, you're going to see something else go out of balance somewhere else. But I would say looking at that adrenal function, looking at that DHEA level, that anti-aging hormone, let's all take a look at that. And
I do have high stress, high stress that goes nonstop.
yeah.
So that's absolutely, I'm sure my adrenals are probably shot. It's pretty much high stress morning to night, 7 days a week. So that's what, however that affects it. I also feel bloated a bit, you know what I mean? So it's like I have a six pack, but I mean, it feels like I'm pregnant, and that's frustrating because it's like, I'm not eating a lot of the crap that most people eat. So that's frustrating.
Yeah.
You got a minute left, Dr. Val.
Wonderful. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at some of the food sensitivities. We'll take out the foods that you're reacting to. We'll help in terms of regulating the thyroid. There's a number of ways that we can do that. We'll bring back up the testosterone levels. We'll find out what those root causes are and bring that back up. For blood pressure, as you start to decrease the inflammation in your system, not only will you help in terms of lowering the blood pressure, but what will happen is you're going to see a lot less of tendon and ligament damage because there's less of the inflammatory hormones or chemicals within the body. And will work on getting your digestion maximized so you could digest and absorb the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. We'll look at how you're absorbing that to make sure that you don't have any micro mineral deficiencies or insufficiencies. And I would say the other thing that you might want to do, I don't want to give advice to, don't do this at home, but Mark, to lower the blood pressure, magnesium's fantastic for helping it to lower pretty quickly. So we could start working with a little bit of magnesium, and L-arginine helps in terms of increasing and dilating the blood vessels, but it helps in terms of testosterone support. So that's something that would have a really powerful impact on your body. But again, consult a healthcare practitioner for the level of dosage, if this is appropriate for you. I'm not trying to give advice to anybody else out there. But there's so many wonderful different things that we can do from a natural perspective, vitamins, minerals, but a ton just from foods that will really dial the body back in. But the key take home message for you, Mark, is that we've got to dial in your nutrition and your foods and your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients and your hormones and biochemistry. We have to dial it into you uniquely. And so there's a lot of great testing opportunities that we have so that we can just get it spot on and design everything directly for you.
Awesome.
Great. That's awesome. Great job, guys. So first question for you, Mark, what was that for you?
It was great because that was exactly what the problem came out to be. I'm allergic to whey protein, which who knew? I was allergic when she ran specific tests. I was allergic to casein protein. I was allergic to egg proteins. I was allergic to saturated fat, so my steaks. So a customized plan, what was interesting was I dropped 18 pounds just by shifting away from the foods that were technically good for you. But by taking her advice and aligning my diet for my goal and my epigenetics and my own specific case, I dropped 18 pounds, got shredded before I was even in my training cycle, had more recovery, more energy, more mental bandwidth. So it was great. And it was a different approach than I previously had, which the traditional method was, hey, why don't you take some statins? Why don't you take this and testosterone supplements? And everything was just external. So for me, it was really supportive and I felt seen.
Awesome. Dr. Val, what was that for you?
It was so much fun because when you actually have the ability to test the immune system and how the foods are being seen by the immune system, if the immune system's having a reaction to it, plus you can look at the DNA and you can dial in how someone should be eating, what vitamins, minerals, and nutrients they may be lacking as a result of their genetics, the percentages of carbohydrates, fats, proteins, what your body does with different types of fats. I just love that. That's exciting to me. So if I look at your genetic testing, there are people out there who have this genetic marker that if they eat the monounsaturated fats, like the olive oil and macadamia nuts, right, they'll actually lose visceral fat. So there's one of those people that I love talking to those people because I'm like, you can eat as much fat as you want. You're going to lose weight. So you're going to lose the fat around the midsection. It's so exciting for them. And then for other people, we can find out, well, how prone are you to type 2 diabetes? And what's your body doing with carbohydrates? There's like about 6 different genetic markers that we can take a look at. And if we see that they're out of balance, we know exactly how to target them too. So
I was, like you said, I was pre-diabetic. They wanted to start looking at me on insulin because I was pre-diabetic. I was pre-hypertension and all those things. So
Yeah, so thank you for those shares. And then again, giving some context here and for the listeners new to this podcast, I'm actually a plastic and a reconstructive surgeon, trained in 2 different continents and also a much broader perspective on everything. And my vision, for the future doctor, which I had developed about 25 years ago, is one that would not be prescribing drugs or performing surgery. And so the point of the matter is that, within conventional medicine, they're relatively strict in the training and very precise and myopic, quite in fact, in those specialties. And so for today's, best, I would say, perspective or context of a conventional doctor is that, for emergency situations, for critical cases, when there's really serious issues going on. But one is generalized health. My bet is on the naturopath who has a different perspective and a much more sort of unified perspective. I don't use the word holistic because people get confused by that term, but it's really understanding all the dynamics that are happening within the body. And the best way to get started is data. And this is the one thing that the naturopaths do a good job on, And that's getting all the data that's relevant, to every single person. And unfortunately, our conventional docs, we just don't have that luxury. It's all guided by, insurance companies, which you can and cannot do, all these different things. And so if you really want to optimize your health, find either a conventional doctor that understands this unified health approach, or find a naturopath that will guide you in ways that the regular doctor can't, because you deserve optimum health. I know Dr. Val is chomping on the bit to share some more. So what would you like to add to all of that?
Well, I love a team approach. So I have a number of medical doctors and psychiatrists and osteopaths and chiropractors, and I have a full team that I love connecting and working with. So I don't see it as an either or, it's a yes and. You need both. But it's so fun when you can speak to someone who speaks biochemistry. So, because you're in plastic surgery, you can do the best of that world from that medical perspective. But when you can see the DNA testing and you're like, we can talk about if your superoxide dismutase levels are low, or we can talk about how you perform with nitric oxide levels, or, you can, and when you take that deep dive, like, what are you doing with collagen formation? So you can get so detailed and you can get so structured in terms of what that you could support it right from the root. And so it's really fun to go in and say, okay, this is exactly the pathway that's out of balance, and here's how we pop it up. And then you use the best of all worlds and you get the combination of the two, and it's just magic what can happen.
So let me translate what Dr. Val just said.
I know.
And basically, it's this, is that we have the blueprint of a perfectly functioning body, and that's in your DNA. But contrary to what most people think, DNA does not determine your destiny. Mark just mentioned this word epigenetics. So all the other factors involved in your life, the decisions that you make, the things that you're exposed to, will definitely affect the expression of your DNA. So simplified, just getting that information, knowing what DNA markers you have, and there's a lot more to it that we could actually unpack, but we're not going to, there's no time for that. And then understanding how your body works, and then getting all these very, very specific numbers. Mark, what else would you like to add, unpacking in all this and your experience, because you got tremendous experience in the world of peak performance. And so I know that you support people in their own health journey.
I love what Dr. Val said, but I think it's one of the biggest mistakes everybody makes is that they are not the CEO of their health. I think that people need to step back and take control of their health and the outcome, and not just settle for, oh, the doctor said I need the pill, you know what I mean? Whatever that is. And it's like, even with Dr. Val, if I'm working with Dr. Val, I want to say, okay, how does this align? And she can explain it. But one of the biggest mistakes I see is people give up their certainty and the ownership of their body. And I found that when I'm owning my body, because the doctor gives you a pill or whatever, he gives you a treatment, but most people aren't going out and doing the work. They aren't changing the behavior. So I come from a behavior standpoint, almost like somebody smoking, they're at risk of lung cancer. Guess what? The doctor might give you a pill that could help you, delay or deal with it, but I'd rather change the behavior so that the doctors don't have to come in, and then use the doctors intelligently when it's needed. And I think there's a direct correlation between owning your health, realizing that if I make it a priority, then it makes the doctors, whether it's a Western medicine doctor, whether it's a chiropractor, whether it's a naturopath, it makes them more effective. So mindset is huge. When I had cancer, real quick, Dr. Val really did a lot of work, but it was my mindset about it that's going to massively impact. There's a direct correlation between your mindset and your body, it's all related, and not just the physical aspects, but also the mental aspects. And they've even found, real quick, studies when people do a lot of gratitude, it changes the telomere length. It changes their DNA. So things like that is where it gets really exciting. And I would just throw out to everybody is own your health. It makes the doctor more effective.
Dr. Val?
Oh, I just agree with that. What do you say after that? Yep, what that guy said.
And let me translate that. And this is the key message that I've been sharing all along, is that the conversation actually needs to change. And it's 3 items. Number one, as Mark was saying, is responsibility. So as physicians, We have a responsibility to go beyond our myopic view of what's going on and actually do what Dr. Val is saying, and she's already doing, which is exciting to hear, by the way, is that we need a team approach. I was fortunate to have worked at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota for a while, and it's all about team. It's all about working together. No one is more significant or important than the others, but all of it stacked up together makes a difference. And so there's that responsibility at the end of the doctor's side, that we need to look outside of conventional medicine and understand what's currently available, because technology and because pioneers, like Dr. Val, are leading the way to a much better way to optimizing health. Keep conventional medicine for those emergencies or those really difficult cases that you want those super trained specialists to help you out. The second part, and again, Dr. Val brought that up, is what's the root cause? Now, here's what's interesting is that as much as it's a buzzword today, people don't really quite appreciate what root cause really is. And just in a very simplified fashion, every single cell, every single organ has its ability to self-regulate. And it's understanding the self-regulating processes that's key, not just vitamin levels, but it's also understanding the interface with your genetics. So that's a story for another day. People can reach out for me on that if they want. But the final thing, and again, this is what's lacking so much, is data. We need to have the data. And kind of sort of what, Mark was also alluding to, is taking responsibility to, optimize, to make the right choices to help you with your health, and then actually measuring that as well. So not just what Dr. Val was saying is, finding out what those numbers are, but also following those over time in all sorts of things. So what both of you are doing is remarkable. It's life-changing for anybody who would just even work just with you individually, but clearly as a team approach in all things, and all the other stuff that's out there that I'm excited to bring on this podcast is absolutely there. So as we wrap it up, first want to give last words to Mark, and then once again, how do people find you? And I know you had a very special event this last weekend that was remarkably successful. And tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go with Dr. Val.
Sure. We just did a Soar and Roar live event. It was actually a virtual event, though, and it really focused on really identifying your greatness, activating it, and really owning it, and then transmuting that into your purpose so that every day you know what you're doing. You can find me very easily by going to www.markvonmuser.com. You can also go to www.soarandroar.com, and that's SOARANDROAR.com. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. And on Facebook, I have a group, Light Warriors, and also 111 Days to Greatness. So that's an ongoing program. So that's really a big part of what we do. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
And final comments?
Just that this is critical. People, again, even though I'm not technically in the physical healthcare, I'm in the mental healthcare aspect of it. But your health, I've seen this with multiple doctors and experts in health, that when your physical capacity starts to plummet, so does your ability to impact the world. So does your ability to earn income. So what happens is that if you don't make healthcare a priority, you're building a house on sand, and you want to build it on something granite. So health has to become more important. And I don't want to throw this on the government, the FDA, or these different countries, but our health has been plummeting. Go back to the 60s and 70s and look at pictures of people on the beach versus today. 70% of America is overweight, 38% are morbidly obese, and we're losing hundreds of thousands of people prematurely to heart disease and obesity. So people need to start owning it. Don't wait for the government to come in. They're not coming to rescue you.
Yeah, thank you for those words. Dr. Val?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on this podcast and inviting me on as a guest. If anybody would like to get a hold of me, they can get a hold of me at my website, www.drvalfranc.com, drvalfranc.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. On Facebook and Instagram, it's at Dr. Val ND, Dr. Val Frank ND. And you can always book a fireside chat right from my website, and that'll send a nice little email, and we can sit down and just have a chat and get to know each other. So I'd be delighted to hear from people.
And final comments?
final thoughts would be, don't settle. I find too many people think that, oh, I'm, feeling pain. I'm feeling tired. I've got, aches and pains in my knees. I'm gaining weight. That's just because I'm aging. No, it isn't. It's because you have this lifestyle and you don't have your foods, your lifestyle and your supplements, your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients dialed into your body's biochemistry and DNA. But you should be able to live till 110 and be windsurfing or hiking or being active right up until that time. So don't settle. Go for human optimization and make sure that you get all of your metrics looked at and all your questions looked at.
I love that. Thank you, both of you. I'll say something that triggers a lot of people, but I think you both will agree. We no longer have an excuse to be sick. Being sick is a choice based on all the decisions. And I say that, not so much with tongue in cheek, but the reality is in the last 3 to 5 years, all that information, all that technology, and all those amazing individuals, like Dr. Val and Mark, are out there supporting you, wanting to help you. So it's entirely up to you to find those individuals, to find that technology, and being responsible for yourself, as both Mark and Dr. Val shared with us today. So I want to thank you both. This was very enlightening, and my hope is that the listener will actually make some very specific decisions, go back to their own doctor and get a team together and start taking responsibility for their own lives. My name is Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered, and we will be back. Thank you for listening to the Doctor's Guide, an innovative approach to help you navigate the complexities of your health journey with Dr. Bart Rademaker and his expert guests. Tune in to more insights and action steps in our next episode every weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern.